My girlfriend came from a poor family, but she was obsessed with marrying into wealth. To win over an online Rich Heir, she even took out a loan just to buy him the latest Apple trifecta for Christmas. I warned her that the internet was full of scammers and begged her not to fall for it. But Victoria Bellweather, my girlfriend, just scoffed. "You're just jealous he's rich. That guy is the crown prince of a listed group. What he makes in a single day is more than you'll earn in your whole life. You think he cares about this chump change?" Her obsession only grew worse. Her borrowing spiraled out of control. To impress the so-called heir and convince him to take her home for the holidays, she even went so far as to take out a nude loan just to buy him gifts. I had no choice but to tell her parents. For that, she hated me. One day she shoved me into the street, and I was run over and killed. After my death, Victoria took all my savings and ruined my family. But when I opened my eyes again, I was back on the very day she first met the online heir. "Baby, I think I got matched with a rich heir in a game recently, and he even added me as a friend." The moment my eyes opened, I saw Victoria looking at me, her cheeks flushed with excitement. I glanced around at the familiar surroundings, and my heart pounded violently. Had I been reborn? Victoria didn't notice my strange behavior. She kept shoving her phone in my face, showing me her game. A new friend notification popped up. The homepage was filled with rows of expensive skins, and Victoria's face lit up as her heart raced with excitement. "I told you I could meet a rich heir in a game. Look, someone who can spend hundreds of thousands on skins must be a wealthy young master." To verify whether he was truly rich, Victoria chatted with him for a while before adding him on a messaging app. As soon as he accepted, she immediately opened his social media profile. His feed was filled with luxury cars and mansions, and a satisfied smile spread across her face. If we can get on good terms with an online heir like him, won't our future be limitless? Hearing her delusional words, my fingers trembled uncontrollably. In my last life, it was for her so-called future that Victoria sent me to my death. Victoria was always dissatisfied with me. She complained that I lacked ambition and made too little money. "How can you support me earning this dead-end salary?" she would snap, wishing she could split me into 8 pieces, forcing me to work around the clock. Even though I gave her my entire salary and tried to meet her every demand, she was never satisfied. "You're incompetent at work, and you lost the birth lottery. Why couldn't you be a rich heir? How did I end up with a useless waste like you?" But the truth was, her own family was average at best, and she couldn't find anyone better than me. So she vented her frustrations by berating me. A few months earlier, Victoria had decided to change her life. She spent several months of salary on new clothes, took staged photos at high-end restaurants, and curated her social media profile. Since she couldn't break into the upper echelons of society in real life, she decided to take an unconventional route, hooking a rich man online. Victoria was known for her fleeting passions, and honestly, I didn't believe she could actually find a rich heir that way. I didn't take it too seriously, though I was concerned about her extravagant spending. Gently, I reminded her, "Your family still has debts to pay off, and your mother is chronically ill. There are a lot of expenses at home. Could you try to be a little more frugal?" She retorted sharply, "What do you know? This is called branding and investment. If a woman doesn't invest in herself, how can she get ahead?" Victoria was naturally pretty, and after spending a fortune on her image, she actually did manage to hook the supposed heir of a wealthy group named Aries. Slowly, things began unfolding just as she imagined. People in her gaming groups started worshipping her as a goddess. Some even sent her hundreds, even thousands of dollars just to get her attention. But Victoria still wasn't satisfied. "These guys are all broke. They can't spend that much on me. If I can attract them, it means I deserve someone better." So she invested huge sums into the game, finally managing to connect with the online rich heir under her carefully crafted persona, the gaming goddess Aries. To maintain the image of a cool and aloof goddess, Victoria constantly took out loans to check in at high-end restaurants and meticulously curated her social media. She even bought him a graphics card worth thousands for his birthday. I didn't know any of this, until one day, I received a text message about Victoria's overdue loan payments. I rushed home from the office and grabbed Victoria's phone, only to discover she had taken out a nude loan for more than $20,000. Shock and rage flooded my mind. Have you lost your mind over a game? You borrowed $20,000, and it was a nude loan. Victoria shot back dismissively. It's an investment. Don't you get it? If I don't spend money on him, why would he spend money on me later? I almost laughed from sheer anger. I tried to explain patiently that the internet was full of scammers and that she was being played. But she refused to listen. You're just jealous he's rich. He's the crown prince of a listed group. What he makes in a day is more than you'll make in a lifetime. Do you think he cares about this chump change? We had a huge fight over it. I was furious, but she was still my girlfriend. I couldn't just watch her self-destruct. When persuasion failed, I had no choice but to tell her parents, Frank and Mary Bellweather. They rushed over from their hometown that very night. Her parents were simple farmers from the countryside and had never seen that much money in their lives. Her father was so angry that he cursed her and even raised his hand to hit her. I stepped in front of Victoria to shield her, promising again and again that as her boyfriend, I would help her change and do my best to repay the loans. Only then did the old couple relent. But I never expected that Victoria would come to hate me for it. She resented me for meddling and ruining her online romance with the so-called heir. She pretended to reconcile with me. Then, the very next day, after I withdrew money to make a payment on her loan, she pushed me into traffic. I died on the spot. After my death, my soul didn't leave. It floated in the air, watching helplessly. I saw Victoria take all my savings and even impersonate me in messages to my parents. She told them she was pregnant with my child and used the lie to extort $50,000 from them as a dowry. I watched in despair as my parents scraped together their life savings and handed it all to her. I screamed, tried to stop them, my essence ripping apart with grief, but it was useless. The agony of being crushed to pieces, combined with the despair and fury of being betrayed by the woman I loved, still haunts me. Hey, hurry up. Transfer me $2,000. Back in the present, Victoria's repeated demands pulled me from my memories. She pinched my arm impatiently. Did you hear me? Christmas is coming up. I need to buy him a gift so he'll send one back to me. Looking at her entitled expression, my stomach churned. But this time, fate had given me a second chance. This time, I wouldn't play the fool. Faced with Victoria's aggressive demands, I played dumb. I've already sent all my money to my parents. I only have a few hundred on me right now. The moment Victoria heard I was broke, she exploded. Why would you send it to your parents? Who told you to do that? I soothed her gently. Didn't you say we have to buy a house and a car before we can get married? They've saved some money over the years, but it wasn't quite enough. So I sent mine over to help. When she heard the money was for her future house, Victoria's expression softened a little, but she still looked reluctant. It takes so much trouble just to buy a house. Your whole family is useless. I suppressed the rage boiling inside me and forced a perfunctory smile. About the gift, baby. Why don't you buy it with your own money first? When I get my salary this month, I'll reimburse you. The word reimburse finally brought a smile to Victoria's face. She drifted off into her fantasy world. I wonder what he'll get me in return. Given his status, if I spend $2,000 on him, he should at least give me $20,000 back, right? To set the bait, Victoria opened a group chat for pooling money for luxury experiences and scheduled a lavish photo shoot package with a few of her friends for the afternoon. She planned to post a fresh set of exquisite pictures to her social media. Reimburse her? Of course, I had no intention of doing that. Victoria was a bottomless pit that devoured people whole. Having been given a second chance, I had no desire to get caught in that mess again. The memory of her vicious expression as she shoved me in front of that truck still sent a chill down my spine. Baby, Apple just released their latest models a while ago. I deliberately planted the idea, hoping to accelerate the process of her taking out loans in this lifetime. Sigh. If someone gave me the latest Apple trifecta, I'd definitely remember them for the rest of my life. Ha. As if you deserve it. Victoria sneered, her face full of disdain. I paid no mind to her constant ridicule, secretly watching her reaction. As expected, she soon fell into thought. Her hesitation melted away into resolve. Victoria looked at me one last time for confirmation. "You'll reimburse me when you get paid, right?" "Of course, baby," I answered with an utterly sincere smile. "Just tell me how much and I'll cover it." That afternoon, Victoria called her best friend, Wendy Miller, and asked her to go shopping. Wendy sounded hesitant on the phone. "Vicky, you only make what, $3,000 a month? Suddenly spending tens of thousands on gifts for someone? Doesn't seem right, does it?" Victoria, however, was unfazed. "What's not right about it? This kind of thing is old news in the upper class. Honestly, I'm almost embarrassed to give him Apple products." Wendy tried to pull me in. "Sincere Clark, you're her boyfriend. Aren't you going to talk some sense into her?" I sneered inwardly. Why would I? I had no intention of repeating my past mistakes. In my previous life, Wendy was the one who fanned the flames. She had blamed everything on me, saying that if I hadn't interfered and told Victoria's parents, they wouldn't have tried to stop her, and Victoria would have already married into wealth. Her slanderous words had sent Victoria into a rage, ultimately leading to my death. This time, I didn't hesitate. I stood firmly by Victoria's side. I think Vicky has her own ideas, and I support her decisions unconditionally. After all, investment and return are proportional. If you don't give gifts, why should anyone give them to you for free? Victoria shot me a sideways glance, her face dripping with arrogance and contempt. Then she scolded Wendy. "Why are you asking him? If he understood any of this, would he still be stuck where he is today?" Impatiently, she hurried Wendy along. "Let's go, Wendy. We're going shopping. I don't have enough on my card, so you can cover for me first." So that was it. She had invited Wendy to be her walking wallet. An unnatural expression flickered across Wendy's face. She was about to make an excuse to refuse, but I quickly cut her off and pushed them both toward the door. "I've already called a cab for you. The driver just rang. He's waiting downstairs." Wendy could only let herself be dragged away by Victoria. The moment I watched them climb into the cab, I immediately began packing at top speed. During the years Victoria and I lived together, I had paid for almost everything: rent, utilities, groceries. Now I moved swiftly, boxing up all my belongings, and called the moving company I had arranged in advance. By the time Victoria returned that evening after buying the electronics, the apartment was nearly empty. Wendy, who was with her, looked annoyed. "Victoria, my rent is due next month. You have to pay me back quickly." "Don't worry," Victoria said. "I'll pay you back as soon as Sincere gets his salary. For the next few days, I'll have him pick up a food delivery gig at night." But the moment she opened the door, Victoria froze, staring at the barren living room. "Sincere." Her face turned red with fury. Did we get robbed? What the hell happened here? I shrugged, feigning innocence. "Weren't you short on cash? I sold everything." Watching her face flush with rage, I sneered inwardly. The despair of watching my family ruined in my past life was a wound that had never healed. But in this life, Victoria's fate would be far worse than mine. My real revenge was just beginning. With Christmas only a few days away, Victoria began trying on outfits in front of the mirror. It was exactly the same as in my past life. She had spent several months of salary on a designer outfit, dressed herself to the nines, and went to meet her online crush brimming with confidence. But when she arrived at the meeting spot and saw the Rich Heir leaning against a sports car across the street, Victoria immediately lost her nerve. Her carefully constructed vanity shattered into foam the moment she saw real wealth up close. She panicked and fled. But in her haste, she bumped into someone. Victoria looked up and saw an unattractive man, his face fleshy, his body weighing easily over 250 pounds. She wrinkled her nose in disgust. Then an idea struck her. She decided to hand him the gifts, pointing toward the Heir across the street and asking him to deliver them. She watched as the heavy-set man walked toward the Heir. But just as he was about to hand over the gifts, Victoria almost made eye contact with the heir and bolted in panic. Back home, Victoria grew resentful. She quickly arranged another meeting with her online boyfriend. This time, she wore the designer clothes she had meticulously prepared, complete with flawless makeup and high heels. Nervous but excited, she went to the designated place. Yet again, the same heavy-set man was standing beside her online boyfriend. Only then did Victoria realize the truth. The man she had asked for help last time was actually her online boyfriend's friend. Seizing a moment when a man stepped away, Victoria rushed over, her expression soft and sweet, her voice coquettish. "Darling, guess who I am?" But the heir only glanced at her, his brow furrowed in disgust and annoyance. He looked her up and down, then said coldly, "I don't know you. Excuse me, I'm waiting for someone. Please move." Victoria froze. She never expected such a reaction. "Darling, maybe I look a little different from my online photos, but if you look closely, do you really not recognize me?" The heir waved his hand impatiently. "I don't know you. Stop bothering me. This is ridiculous." With that, he turned and walked away. Watching his retreating back, Victoria was overwhelmed with despair and self-loathing. She felt she hadn't prepared well enough. A rich heir like him had seen all kinds of women. She needed to be exceptional to win him over. Scrolling through an app for luxury goods, Victoria's eyes lit up when she saw a couture dress. She instantly fell in love with a high-end mini dress. But the price tag was steep, over $15,000. Even if she scrimped and saved, she couldn't afford it. The money. Where's the money? Victoria shrieked, her eyes red like an addict in withdrawal. She demanded money from me. I pushed her away impatiently, keeping my distance. The buyer needs time to receive the goods. Once delivery is confirmed, I'll transfer the money to you. Of course, I was never going to send the money. As soon as I finished my work handover, I planned to move to another city and rid myself of this burden forever. Victoria's eyes burned with frustration. She tore at her hair, roaring, "What do I do? I can't meet him looking like this. His whole outfit is worth tens of thousands. If I show up like this, he'll definitely hate me. No, rich people don't want a charity case. I can't let him look down on me. I have to buy this dress." She grabbed a calculator, frantically tallying up the costs of winning over the heir. Just for beauty treatments, hairstyling, and clothes, it would take tens of thousands. And if she wanted to proactively go to his city to accidentally run into him, that would add even more expense. Victoria was frantic, pacing back and forth. Victoria wandered around the empty living room, her eyes red and swollen. She had maxed out every loan app she could find. These days, she had no interest in going to work. Ever since meeting the so-called heir, she had been completely consumed with capturing his heart, lost in a fantasy of marrying into wealth. Naturally, she looked down on the meager earnings of an ordinary office worker. Her boss called, threatening to fire her if she kept skipping work. Victoria just hung up impatiently. Work. Work. I'm about to marry into a rich family. Why the hell would I work? The day I get married, I'll have my husband buy your company. With that, she angrily blocked and deleted her boss's number. Undeterred, she called Wendy Miller. "Wendy, can you lend me some more? Once I meet him successfully, I'll pay you back 1,000 times over." Wendy scolded her at first but eventually transferred the money. Perhaps it was the sunk cost fallacy. I watched Victoria's pathological obsession with cold detachment. I knew this was just the beginning. Soon, she would walk the same dark path as in my past life. 3 days later, I was sitting quietly outside the office, waiting for the results of my overseas assignment application. My boss, Mr. Harrison, patted my shoulder. "Your performance has improved rapidly recently and everyone has seen your capabilities. Relax, you'll get a good result." He had been my benefactor, mentoring me ever since I graduated from college. Unfortunately, in my past life, the pressure from Victoria forced me to juggle multiple jobs for years, making me neglect my primary career, and my performance suffered badly. When the overseas assignment opportunity came up in my last life, Victoria had obstructed it at every turn. Her reasoning was always the same. I don't care about your future. That's just empty talk. You can't be so selfish. You get a future, but what about me? I need money now. I had no choice. She was constantly draining my wallet. I wasted my professional talents and squandered my time and energy on physically demanding jobs that paid quickly. Day after day, my body grew weaker and my spirit gradually withered. In the end, I disappointed the company, and my future was ruined. Thinking of all this, I looked at the boss who had always supported me, and my eyes welled up. In this life, I will not let the company down. I will build a great career for myself, I thought, waiting for the good news about my overseas assignment. I was about to call my parents when an unfamiliar number rang. "Sincere Clark, why aren't you answering my calls?" It was Victoria. After I blocked her, she had somehow gotten a new number to reach me. She threatened, "If you dare block this number again for no reason, I'll go find your parents for a moment." I was speechless. In my past life after I died, I had watched her take all my savings and even impersonate me to text my parents. Since I had introduced her to them, she used that connection as a tool to deceive them, a weakness she shamelessly exploited. But having been reborn, I had already sent my parents abroad. Before they left, I made sure their phones had Victoria's number completely blocked. I couldn't be bothered with her now. Letting out a cold laugh, I said, "Oh, please don't call my parents. My mom has a heart condition. If you upset her, she'll faint from the shock. Anyway, I have to get back to work. Bye." Without waiting for her reply, I hung up. The more I said, the more trouble it could cause. All I needed to do was sever ties. Arguing would only provoke her further. Victoria was completely unhinged now. She began to suspect that her online boyfriend hadn't recognized her because she looked too different from her photos. Or maybe he did recognize her but thought she was less attractive in person. So she made another decision. She was going to get plastic surgery. But she was completely broke. She asked me for money several times, but I always made excuses. Eventually, tired of her harassment, I blocked her again. With no other options, Victoria decided to go all in. She contacted a nude loan company and sent them a set of extremely risque and seductive photos. Once she got the money, she immediately flew to Korea. Bone shaving, a nose job, eyelid surgery, liposuction, she had every procedure she could. When she returned, her face was wrapped up like a mummy. Once the recovery period ended, her new surgically altered face was revealed. Her cheeks were puffy like steamed buns. Her European-style double eyelids were as deep as the Mariana Trench. Her nose tilted so high it looked like it was about to take flight, and her lips were swollen like sausages. The sight of her was physically repulsive to me. Just in case, I asked Mr. Harrison for the contact information of the company's legal department. If necessary, I would use the law to protect myself. I told my boss the whole sordid story, leaving out only the part about my rebirth. To prove I wasn't lying, I showed him my chat history with Victoria, screen after screen of her insane ramblings. Even Mr. Harrison, a man who had seen it all, was left speechless. As I scrolled past a picture of Victoria's online love interest's luxury cars and mansion, my boss suddenly stopped me. "Wait." With my permission, he took my phone and scrolled back to the photo that had just flashed by. He pointed at the picture, his eyes wide with shock. "Isn't this the young master's car?" He was pointing at a photo of the luxury car Victoria had secretly taken the day she tried to meet her online crush. Mr. Harrison immediately pulled up a photo he had taken when handling the vehicle's registration. After comparing the model, color, and license plate, he confirmed it was undoubtedly the young master's car. "But that can't be right," Mr. Harrison said, confused. "The young master has been abroad and he's engaged. They're about to get married. How could he possibly be involved with your girlfriend?" An idea struck me. I quickly found the photo of the online heir that Victoria had sent me. Pointing to the man elegantly sipping coffee next to a Maybach, I asked, "Manager, take a look. Is this our young master?" Mr. Harrison squinted, trying to make out the blurry face in the photo. "The overall demeanor seems about right, but the face is too blurry to be sure." He was stumped. Just as he was about to give up, he noticed another person in the photo. But look, the heavy-set guy next to him is quite clear. Wait a minute. Why does he look so much like Gus Jones? The driver. He immediately pulled up Gus Jones's employee file and pointed to the man in the blue ID photo. Buzzcut, pockmarked face, downturned eyebrows, it was him. If Gus is there, then the man in the photo must be the young master, Mr. Harrison concluded. He shook his head, unable to understand. I really don't know what the young master is thinking, getting involved with someone like her. I had died too early in my previous life to know if Victoria had ever successfully met him. Not that I was curious. A terrifying person like her was best kept at a distance. Soon, Victoria somehow discovered that the man in the photo was the son of my company's president. She was overjoyed, especially since the young master had been delighted with her Christmas gift. Their relationship progressed rapidly. With things going so well with her new love, she naturally turned her attention to me. After all, we were still technically together, and I was an obstacle between her and the heir. To get rid of me, Victoria started picking fights every few days. This suited me perfectly. I played the role of the heartbroken victim, reluctantly letting her go. But then I looked at her with pleading eyes. What about the money you asked me to transfer? I haven't sent it yet. I put on a clingy, persistent act. Victoria, startled, immediately waved her hands. You're a lost cause anyway. I don't even want your money anymore. The little you earn isn't nearly enough for me. My boyfriend happens to have a job opening. Why don't you go work for him? I smiled and shook my head. I'm about to go abroad. Victoria looked at me with pure contempt. So what if you're going abroad? You'll still just be a corporate slave. Since she wasn't working, Victoria decided she would become a live-streaming influencer. She posted daily updates about her online romance, planning to live-stream her first real-life meeting with the heir and use the group Heir Halo as the launchpad for her influencer career. I had to admit the strategy worked to some extent. The chat logs of her sending large sums of money to the so-called Rich Heir attracted plenty of attention. Sending a man that much money. Diagnosis: hopelessly in love. If a girl spends this much on a guy, shouldn't he pay her back double? But this guy doesn't seem to be short on cash. I wonder which family's young master he is. Then Victoria made her move. She harshly rebuked the netizens who called her online boyfriend a gold digger, replying, "As long as he likes it, I'm willing to spend money on my husband. What's the point of earning money if not to spend it on the one you love?" And she made a bold promise. Don't worry, everyone. My husband won't deceive me. We're meeting in person soon, and I'll live stream it for you all. This back and forth earned Victoria a decent number of followers. By putting her online boyfriend on a pedestal, she also forced him to spend money on her, or else he'd be labeled a scamming deadbeat. Soon, the day of the meeting arrived. Thousands of netizens waited in front of their screens, ready to flood Victoria's livestream the moment it started. I, too, stayed up late overseas, curious to see how the meeting I had missed in my past life would unfold. But the broadcast started much later than expected. The livestream wasn't the sweet scene everyone had imagined. Instead, the screen was dark and eerie. On camera, Victoria's hair was a mess. She looked panicked as she pleaded with her viewers. "Help me, everyone. Please help me call the police. I'm being followed by a creep." After speaking, she turned the camera to show the man following closely behind her. A buzzcut, beady eyes, a fleshy face. It was Gus Jones, the driver. Victoria quickly realized it too. She turned back, scrutinizing his face carefully. Seeing the familiar features, she asked doubtfully, "Is it you? It's you, isn't it? I thought I was mistaken, but it really is you. I don't know you. I just asked you to help me deliver a gift once. Why are you stalking me, you pervert?" Gus, knowing he was caught and had nowhere to run, lowered his head, pulled Victoria into a tight embrace and whispered obsessively, "Wifey, didn't you want to meet me? I'm here now. Why don't you recognize me?" Victoria's expression twisted as if she were about to vomit. But what horrified her even more was that this greasy, heavy-set man was calling her wifey. Netizens flooded the comments, demanding to know what was going on. They warned Gus that if he dared do anything to Victoria, they would call the police immediately. To everyone's surprise, Gus promptly pulled out his chat logs with Victoria. Faced with undeniable proof of their relationship, the netizens were stunned. OMG, she was willing to spend money on a guy like this? The power of love is terrifying. It's just a couple having a lover's quarrel. What are we watching? Let's go, let's go. Victoria was unable to defend herself. Desperately, she snatched Gus's phone, scrolling through the chat history until she broke down completely. The netizens, bored of watching the couple's drama, began leaving one by one, and the live stream's popularity plummeted. Victoria certainly wasn't satisfied to find her online love interest was nothing more than an unattractive, heavy-set man. Undeterred, she tried storming the company with her live stream running several times. Whenever she saw the young heir, Ethan Montgomery, entering or leaving the building, she would rush forward without hesitation. Her face plastered with a fawning smile, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Darling, I finally found you." But upon seeing her desperate, crazed appearance, especially her stiff, distorted, surgically altered face, Ethan's skin crawled. He immediately had security drag Victoria out of the building. Victoria wasn't about to let this opportunity slip away. She clung tightly to Ethan's sleeve, pleading, "Darling, please take another look at me. I've given so much for you. You can't treat me like this." Ethan violently shook her off, yelling, "Let go, you crazy woman. If you keep harassing me, I'm calling security." Amidst the pointing and whispering of onlookers, and the harsh criticism from viewers on her livestream, Victoria's face turned beet red. She had never imagined she would face such humiliation. Although Gus wasn't as handsome as she had imagined, with loan deadlines looming, she had no choice but to start a relationship with him. She never once doubted his identity. She simply assumed he was one of the group heir's close buddies and that his financial situation couldn't be too bad. It made sense. When a person is desperate, they cling to such fantasies just to survive. On the second day of their relationship, Gus took her to his garage, which was filled with countless luxury. Cars worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. At Victoria's insistence, Gus drove her around in one of the luxury cars for a couple of laps. But before she could fully enjoy it, Gus received a work call. That very day, a loan payment was due. Victoria reluctantly asked, "Honey, I've sent you so much money before. Shouldn't you buy me a gift too?" Gus played dumb. "What money? Didn't you say you were a rich girl and had plenty of money? You're worried about this chump change?" With no other choice, Victoria posted their chat log online, hoping to use public pressure against Gus. As expected, guided by public opinion, people began to cyberbully Gus. Someone even dug up his personal information and posted it online. When Victoria saw the word driver glaring under Gus's occupation, her world came crashing down. So much for the rich heir. Just yesterday, she had been cruising in a Ferrari, basking in the envious stares of pedestrians. But now, it was bad enough that the online rich heir she had worked so hard to snag turned out to be a greasy man. But he wasn't a rich heir at all, just a driver. Victoria was stunned. She finally realized she had been scammed by Gus. She immediately called him, saying she needed to ask him something in person. Filled with rage, she set up her phone to live stream the entire confrontation, intending to use the recording as evidence. Even if she didn't get compensation for emotional distress, she hoped to at least get back the large sums of money and gifts she had given him. But the moment she saw Gus, a fist the size of a sandbag slammed into her forehead. Blood instantly gushed from the wound. You dare to post a video to cyberbully me?" Gus punched and kicked her relentlessly, forcing Victoria to curl up in a corner, hugging her knees. And in the distance, the camera she had deliberately set up was broadcasting everything. The news of the abusive boyfriend quickly exploded online. To punish the scumbag, people began investigating the couple's information. They had no idea what they would find. As the investigation deepened, several of Victoria's nude photos were leaked by an unknown source. In the videos, she was naked, striking seductive poses, holding a sign stating she was willingly taking out a nude loan, pandering to the camera. Seeing this, Gus immediately posted a video crying foul. It was this __, who took out nude loans behind my back. She even slept with people for money. As her boyfriend, how could I not be furious? At this point, Victoria's reputation was already in tatters. So, even with Gus's embellishments, people believed him without question. The tide of public opinion turned again. Victoria had planned to use the domestic abuse angle to her advantage, but now she was completely dumbfounded. People started to sympathize with Gus. It's so hard to make money these days, and she took out nude loans just to satisfy her vanity. Yeah, pitiful people have their hateful sides. She took out so many loans behind her boyfriend's back. It's a wonder she wasn't beaten to death. No matter what Victoria said or did after that, no one would ever believe her again. Her twisted values soon got her banned from the platform, and her dream of becoming an influencer was shattered. Victoria had hit rock bottom. She groveled and begged her former boss to help her find a job. But she had burned all her bridges, and the industry had blacklisted her. Because she hadn't repaid the money she borrowed from Wendy Miller, she was hounded by relatives and friends demanding repayment. She didn't dare go home. Soon, the debt collectors came for her. Victoria knelt, weeping, and begged them. "Please, sir, I'm begging you. After you leaked my nude photos, I'm socially dead. No company will hire me. I really can't make any money." Victoria tried to use Gus as a shield. "Please go ask Gus for the money. The money I borrowed from you was all spent on gifts for him. It all went to him. Please go ask him instead." The two of them started slinging mud at each other, each trying to absolve themselves of blame. It was an ugly, dog-eat-dog fight. Victoria was her parents' only child, so of course they couldn't just stand by and watch. The old couple had scrimped and saved their entire lives, hoarding every cent with the hope of using it for their retirement. But now, all their savings were poured into the bottomless pit of high-interest loans. The interest was terrifyingly high. Even after the family threw in everything they had, it still wasn't enough. With no other choice, several burly men tied Victoria and Gus together and broke one of each of their legs. Victoria's father, Frank Bell, was already in poor health, his body trembling with age. Still, he borrowed a 3-wheeled cart from a neighbor and spent half a day traveling from the countryside into the city. With tears streaming down his face, he brought the semi-crippled Victoria back to their old home. But her parents were getting old. They could take care of their daughter for a month or two, but not for the rest of her life. Left with no other option, the old couple asked around for a matchmaker and, with heavy hearts, sold Victoria to an old bachelor. When her father accepted the money from the man, tears streamed down Victoria's face. She begged him not to sell her, but her cries only angered the old bachelor. His chauvinism flared, and he pushed her to the ground, slapping her across the face while cursing her with filthy language. To keep her under control, he even chained her by the neck, restricting her movements. Day and night, Victoria's screams echoed, sharp enough to give anyone goosebumps. At that moment, I was standing before the glass curtain wall of a skyscraper on the other side of the ocean, looking down at the city below while enjoying a leisurely afternoon tea. That was when I heard from Mr. Harrison about Victoria's recent situation. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of emotion. I never imagined she could destroy herself so completely. If only she had been willing to work hard and live steadily, instead of endlessly fantasizing about marrying a rich man to rise in the world, her fate would never have turned out like this. But in the end, it was all the result of her own actions.